So, a core element of demand planning and figuring out your inventory levels is obviously figuring out when it is that you actually need to reorder certain SKUs. There's obviously a lot of different ways you can go about this. In this course, I'm going to go over in this video a simple Heist demand planner, semi-automated tool that I've kind of put together to help for non-complex businesses, or if you just kind of want to get the hang of it. More sophisticated businesses with larger SKU counts, more money on the line, etc. I do recommend SoStocked software, which is Amazon centric, and I've got that here in some other modules with all of their detailed training library. But in this one, we're just going to go over the simple demand planning tool. So here is the Heist demand planner. Anything here in yellow you actually need to input for each of your SKUs. And then these rows here, row 7, the break even inventory level, and then the minimum units needed, including safety stock in gray, those are going to actually calculate. So what we basically need to figure out for each product in our catalog is what is the daily sales velocity or sales per day that we predict or want to actually assume. What's the production lead time? So how long does it take to actually make the product? What does it take from the end of production to actually arriving in the US in terms of transport time or whatever market you're selling in? What's the check-in time from it entering port to actually getting into an Amazon warehouse? And then the safety stock that we're comfortable with, which most people, it's probably going to be about a 30-day safety stock that you want to keep. So we input all those numbers for each SKU, and then monitoring basically any changes to the sales velocity or the production lead time or any of these other lead times will give us kind of our minimum numbers. And then anytime it goes below those minimum numbers, that's basically a trigger for us that we actually need to order the product in order to avoid stock out. So the first thing that we can do is to try to predict the sales per day. So I'm going to go over here to one of the Amazon accounts, and you're going to want to just go to this reports and then business reports. And then if you go to the detailed page sales and traffic tab, it's typically going to give you like the last couple days, I think. So all you basically want to do here is pull the last year's worth of data. So it's 10/9/2021. We want to pull it as of 10/9/2020. We're going to go ahead and download the CSV on this one. And in the Heist demand planner, all we basically need to do is come to this 12-month business report here, go to tab A1, go to file import, go to upload, and then just drag this sucker here. And then we're going to go ahead and replace data at selected cell, import, and boom, it's going to give us an output like this. I've obviously changed like ASIN information and all that stuff. But this is basically the output. The key thing here is that it's got the units ordered for regular customers, and then it's got the B2B units ordered here for each one of these products. So if you want to just do a simple average of the last 365 days, this current formula in here basically takes all these numbers here, divides by 365 for the last year, and we can see that product 1 is 35 units a day, sales velocity on average. Product 2 is 30, 3 is 23, so on and so on. So that gives you kind of a straight line average, which is kind of a good barometer. The other thing that you may want to consider at the product level is what kind of seasonality or seasonal spikes do you anticipate happening? Or maybe you're coming off of a big season and the sales velocity average is actually well below the 12-month average, and you may want to kind of count that. So to do that, you may want to just like kind of literally manually assess, be like, hey, I know that I sell 2 times more per day during Q4. I can basically just come in here and just multiply this by 2 if I wanted to do that. And then it's up to 67. So there's some manual inputs you can do there just to kind of get your seasonal sales velocity if you want to kind of plan for those. The other thing you can do too is if you come into this restock inventory and go to the sales summary last 30 days, it's going to give you the actual daily sales for the last 30 days for different SKUs if you want to look at more recent data. So in that SKU's case, it's 237. So I could just come in here and be like 237 divided by 30. That one's doing 7.9 or 8 sales per day. So you can kind of manually adjust this for seasonality if you want. Again, the idea with this tool is to literally be simple, so you can make it as sophisticated as you want. And then basically all we need to do is just go ahead and enter all of our lead times, transport times, check-in times, etc. for each product. So to keep things simple, I'm just going to assume that it's 45-day production time for every single product. Obviously, you're probably going to have some variability across those. I'm going to assume that the transport time on the water to get to port and then to actually go on the water and then land in the port in the destination country, I'm going to assume that's 30 days. And then I'm going to assume that once it clears that port, gets on a truck and goes to Amazon and gets checked in, I'm just going to assume that that's 14 days just for fun. And I'm going to assume that for all SKUs. So basically this first number here, what that basically is going to say is that if we don't have any safety stock, if we kind of trust all these numbers and we want to have the precise amount of inventory based on this math, we would basically need to order any time that our current active inventory level goes below basically 2,995 units. So if I go into my daily report on a daily basis and I see, hey, I've actually got 2,990, boom, I got to trigger a PO, get that thing going so I can get a production order going, get the thing on the water, get it checked in, etc. But there is going to be some risk with that, right? Some of these lead times might be longer than expected. Your sales might actually exceed what you expect. So one thing that we like to do is to actually assume a safety stock in days as well. And that's usually going to be 30 to 60 days, depending on the product and depending on kind of the risk variables. We'll bump it up to 60 if we think that it's a really high value A SKU that has amazing ROI and we literally do not want to ever stock out. We can make that 60, maybe even 90 days in some cases. The other time we'll do safety stock is if there's just some risk variables there. We think that maybe there might be some raw material shortages, maybe ocean freight's looking a little bit sketchy. Maybe we just don't quite have enough sales velocity or sales history to really know what's going on and we think it might be more than it is. We can bump this up beyond the 30-day limit. But assuming we do 30 days across the board, you can see here that now instead of the 2,995 that we would need, now we need to place an order anytime it drops below 4,004 based on safety stock. So we can use this simple tool basically just as a yardstick or a red flag in terms of what inventory level will trigger us to actually make a PO purchase.